welcome back to the Tetracast, episode 320, being recorded on October 14th, 2023. I am your host, Josh Torres, once again, not your usual host, Brian Vitali. He was gonna join this time around, but he got up way too early and slept way too late, and he's
He
tired.
went to go. He went to go watch the blood eclipse or whatever they're calling it.
Wait, they call it the blood eclipse? There's some sort of eclipse going
Blood
on,
moon,
but
I
No,
think.
I forget what they call it.
yeah,
It's a lunar eclipse, I think.
Is it the
Because
annual eclipse?
some sort of eclipse is going
Oh,
on.
ring.
I'm not an
ring,
astrologist.
not blood. It's Ring of Fire is the kind of the colloquial term that they're using for it. The Ring of Fire eclipse.
Okay.
So like
Sorry,
it's like an
Cash.
eclipse. It's an eclipse that has like the red like circle around the moon. So
Yeah,
Ring of Fire.
there's a lot of space stuff going on this week because I went to go watch like a NASA launch, like a live stream of it, like yesterday. Yeah, they were gonna go investigate some asteroid. Anyway, you heard them on you heard them. You heard Adam Vitali,
Hello.
you heard Chow Min Woo,
Yes.
and you heard James Galizio.
Hey, folks.
So we're about in the middle of October. Things have been going on here and there, not too much, but we've been having some a major RPG release with it was what was once initially announced as a sequel, then took over the name of an old game. We had
It's still technically a sequel. Kinda.
Yeah, kind of. Yes. We have a Steam Next Fest that went on this week, and as this recording, it'll be on until Monday. So I got me and Chow checked out a couple of games from that Steam Next Fest. Some cool ones here and there that we'll talk about. And other than that, there are other titles that we can't talk about just yet, coming soon. But let's start off with Lords of the Fallen, aka The Lords of the Fallen, aka Lords of the Fallen 2. That's I believe that was the lineage of the names there. So this is basically a follow up to 2013 or 2014's Lord of the Fallen.
2014.
Yeah, and all like I mean, it's just follow up meaning that like they took the name, but not really like I believe any of like the lore or anything from it.
So it's weird because the way they've been talking about this is very, very odd. They're saying, "Oh, it's a reboot," but at the same time, they're saying, "Oh, it's in the same world. It's just 1,000 years later." So it's like it's a sequel, but so far ahead in the future where it might as well be a reboot.
And to be clear, this is from an entirely. Once again, I know we've said this like a million times on this podcast for sure, but this is from a brand new developer. This is published by CI Games. The developer is Hexworks. There's a brand new studio. This is their debut game. This is not the original developers of the original Lords of the Fallen from several years back.
Those developers made Atlas Fallen, which was
right.
kind of mid.
From what I've heard about Atlas Fallen, I'm gonna say that this is probably better.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't even played Lords of the Fallen, and that seems pretty evident.
So to kind of set the stage here, like the original Lords of the Fallen was remembered for being what would be eventually be like the first Souls-like. Like even when that game came out,
you could
like,
even
the term
say
Souls-like that wasn't a thing. It was a game that's like, hey, we really like what the Souls games are doing. Let's make our own version of it. And the game pretty much straight up copied in the Souls games. You know.
Yeah. It's
Can I say this? Oh, sorry.
But yeah, like it pretty much was the first like Souls clone. Not even clone isn't fair, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, James, you've been checking it out. You checked it out for a preview, and then you've gotten several hours into it. We also have a review up on the site by
I feel
Junior.
I feel like because of the unique circumstances here, we should probably mention this. They just sent us a bunch of codes for this.
What can I say? They spent a lot on their marketing team. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you cannot fault them for you. There's no shortage of marketing for this game. They released a bunch of trailers for this game up to release, and I think it's pretty well known that it's out there. And then like even behind the scenes, like this is pretty much coming in hot, even like pre-release into like now that it's released. So like even before release, we were getting emails of like, "Hey, install this patch. We found something. Install this
Yeah.
patch. Install this patch." And then now, like, it's out in the public, and I hear that console performance is okay, but then PC performance
Well,
has
I'm
been
of two minds about that.
okay.
But we'll get to that.
Okay.
Basically, I know yesterday, briefly, it was mostly negative on Steam. Now it's back to mixed. Credit to the devs. They've been very quick to release patches.
Mm.
They're perhaps even being a bit too quick to change some things. The recent patch they released literally last night disabled frame gen for RTX 4000 GPUs because some people were getting crashes with it. I've put like 6 hours into the game on my desktop with a 4090 frame gen on, hadn't had a single crash. So at least some people haven't had any issues with it, but they disabled it for now just to be safe until they figure out what's causing some instability, which I mean, that's fine. So obviously on my desktop, haven't had any performance issues, but again, I have a 4090. So if there was performance issues on that, it would be like, it's one of those cases where you can just literally say, yeah, they coded it wrong. It's like, if it can't run on literally the strongest GPU like that you can buy, then there's an issue. But yeah, haven't had any issues on desktop. And the reason why I'm a little bit hesitant to say that the game's performance issues, at least, are universal is that this game runs on Steam Deck. Like, they optimized it for Steam Deck. Apparently they said something back in April on the Steam community forum saying, yeah, we fully support Steam Deck. So I downloaded it on mine and booted it up, and it doesn't let you set the FSR preset or the resolution, and it defaults to all low, but it literally was optimized for Steam Deck because it even, if you go into the controls, it shows a Steam Deck and has a specific control layout for it. It runs really well. I think it's using FSR performance, so that would be internally 400p, but it's this is a current gen only game, and it runs at a pretty smooth 30 FPS, and even at low settings, it looks really good. So it's hey, if it runs fine on Steam Deck, I don't know if it's just misled expectations or what. Apparently, the high and ultra preset enables ray tracing, so maybe the problem is people are setting it to high and ultra because the game doesn't tell you that it uses ray tracing on those presets, and because of that, people, especially I assume on AMD GPUs, are just having massive performance issues that way or something.
So yeah, before we get into impressions here, like I mentioned earlier, Junior Yai put up a review for us when the embargo went up, and he seemed to enjoy the game. He said it's a pretty solid Souls-like. It's a pretty fun early in the game, but as you progress more and more into the game, it comes a bit of a slog, especially because of this the dual worlds mechanic between the realm of the living and the realm of the dead. And especially once you either die in the game or you willingly enter the realm of the dead, enemies, the more time you spend in that realm of the dead, there'll be more and more tougher enemy spawns the more time you spend in that realm. And especially when you progress later on in the game, he felt that the types of enemies that and formations that spawn there become pretty annoying to deal with, especially how much kind of both the quantity of enemies and just how beefy they are, how
This is
tanky
this was
they
just an
are.
observation of mine. So I edited Junior's review, and first of all, he I don't think he said what his PC specs were. I think it's just more of a moderate PC, but he installed the game on an HDD, so not a solid state drive, and the game even warned you if you install this on a HDD, you might encounter performance issues. And he was like, "Well, I don't really have a choice." And apparently, at first it was fine, but the further he got into the game, he ran into more and more issues with loading and crashes and whatnot. So I think we saw it with Starfield might have recommended install this on an SSD, and this is one of those games also current gen. Those hard disk drives don't really cut it anymore for how these games are loading in assets and whatnot. But what I was going to say was, I actually noticed, I was reading a couple of reviews because it was interesting, because some people seem to really like this game and some people really didn't, kind of mixed. So that's always kind of interesting to see what people, the various takeaways. But one common criticism I saw in several places was one of those things that feels kind of overly specific, but it was just what Josh was just saying, that a lot of people criticized enemy placement. Quite literally, like where the enemies are positioned in the levels is like tedious or annoying. Is that something you've encountered in games?
yeah, they seem to rely on a lot of like enemies, like especially like when you're like a narrow bridge and there's a cliff, there'll like usually be enemies like to like hidden enemies to the side to like knock you off. It's kind of like if you didn't know they were there, you're just gonna get knocked off because they like stabbed you and then you flaunter to your death towards the cliff or something.
Yeah,
I hate to make comparisons, but it's like a Dark Souls 2.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. This feels like a game where the developers really liked Dark Souls 2, specifically Scholar of the First Sin.
Yeah, that makes sense.
There's lots of terrible like gotcha moments. You walk over here, you get this mob that explodes for no reason from the Umbo world and the realm of living. It's just like it's so, I don't know, cheap, I would say.
I would say that once you realize what wavelength the game is working on, you can like prepare yourself for it, much like Dark Souls 2. But I'm enjoying it so far, but I'm also still fairly early on. And it feels like, to an extent, because like one of the main things that they've been marketing with this game is, oh yeah, we have seamless co-op. You can play the entire game without having to disconnect from multiplayer with your friend. And it feels like almost they designed enemy placement around that, because that would explain why there's so many enemies and there's maybe a bit too much health. So if that's what the thought process was, where it's like, well, maybe they're expecting most players to play it in multiplayer with a friend, then maybe in that specific instance, it's like perfectly balanced. But solo, it's definitely a little bit off. Like I'm doing fine, but it's one of those things where it's like, if this is your first time playing one of these games, you're not going to have a great time because it's just a bit overtuned.
And one thing I will say is like it seems like they for a premiere project, it's pretty impressive over, like, especially.
Oh, this is the best looking game this year.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people praise it's like the graphical fidelity of it, and also like the
art
way
style's good. Yeah,
and the way I've heard a lot of like praise about like the way that the game kind of seamlessly balances the way that you switch between melee, ranged, and like spells combat. Like it seems to be like it seems to have nailed like being able to seamlessly switch between those ranges, but like because you can have like different arsenals or equipment like swap to like those different modes of combat.
Yeah,
during it.
I will say that reading Junior's review, and again, I'm still very early on, but it's like I agree with a lot of his complaints, but I also feel like this is definitely a game where a lot of its issues can be patched. Like enemy, like we even just saw it with Liza P, where a common complaint for that game at launch was, again, not the bosses, but the regular enemies. And they basically did like a nerf patch for some of the regular enemies to make progressing through the levels a little less annoying. And I feel like if this game got something like that, it would immediately make it a lot more enjoyable for more players.
That was actually one of Junior's conclusions, and I quote, "With some patching, this game could be extremely good." That's what he said.
Well, there's already a patch on the PS5 when I booted up yesterday. So
we were talking about there's been lots of different hot fixes.
Yeah. But anyways, I mean, if you like Souls-likes, and I mean, it's not like this year has been like lacking for them, because we just had Liza P, which I haven't played it yet, but everyone I know that's played it has said, oh yeah, this is probably my favorite Souls-like that's not been developed by From Software. And it's like, man, I'm looking forward to playing that eventually. But yeah, I mean, this is a different type of Souls-like than Liza P from what I'm seeing, and obviously it does have its issues. But if you're like, say, going to play this in like co-op with a friend, and both of you have decent enough like PCs, I mean, this is good. Like the level design and like the world design, I actually really, really like. And even though the like dual world system, I don't feel like is perfectly utilized, it's still an interesting twist on the genre. And it's like, it can't really be stressed enough. For a debut project for a totally new studio, this is really impressive. Like, and I was talking about performance and like the visuals earlier, but one thing that stands out to me is this game's 35 gigabytes. It's the best looking game this year. Like, look at some of the screenshots or whatever on like the Steam page, and it's like this game's only 35 gigabytes. Kind of insane. But
yeah, there's also an Unreal Engine 5, right?
Yeah, it's Unreal Engine 5. Again, like I said, like it runs on Steam Deck. If you're fine with 30 FPS, I mean, I've put a couple of hours into it on Steam Deck. I would recommend playing it there. So, yeah, it's yeah, I'm having a good time. Hopefully, by the time I get to the latter parts of the game, it'll have been patched.
Yeah, I'm kind of mixed on it, just because I have Liza P to play. Because I played that first, I'm like, I think I'll just go back to this instead. So that's kind of like my impression of it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a shame.
I mean, yeah, that does happen. Like I went from Fate Samurai Remnant into Dragon Quest Dai, and like you can feel like the immediate reference of like, oh man, I kind of just want to go back to the other game I was just playing because it controlled better and I got better progression systems, you know. So
one could say that a similar situation happened from people playing Baldur's Gate 3 into Starfield.
Yeah, you know, your game's good. Your game's good. Say. But yeah, I really haven't had time to like check out both Liza P and this, so I want to get around to at least fiddling around with them too. But I feel like that's what a common thing I've heard like from people who played both saying, nah, we prefer kind of Liza P better than this. But I mean, not to say that it's a bad game or anything. It's just like it's one of those things like this came out first and just happened to like really strike up a resonance with people that played it, and then this came out after. It's kind of how the dice rolls sometimes. And like James said, like it's cool that like this game is not following in the footsteps of its like kind of predecessor, where its predecessor straight up ripped everything from Souls from top to bottom. It didn't really have any much of a creative vision outside of like a small few things here and there. This one, they're trying to make some key distinctions from what others, not only just mainline Souls, but other Souls likes are doing as well, with this dual world mechanic and being able to switch between them and like find alternate pathways and mess around with the level design using that umbral lamp mechanic to peer into the other world rather, which is an interesting concept. Even if it's not the most perfect implementation, it's definitely something that just gives it its own identity. Anything else you want to add onto it, James? Like any sort of like if you've like messed around with any of the classes or weapons or anything that like you want to say about like the way the game flows?
You can tell that these developers are really, really big Souls fans. Not just by the fact that it's obviously a Souls-like that copies a lot from the From Software games, but they're the type of fans that very clearly understand what they want from Souls, because there's a Destiny 2 shader system in this game where you can get these things called tinctures, which you find them or buy them from like NPCs, and then you can just apply a new paint job to your armor set, and you can like have different like shaders for each of your armor stuff. So it's like not only are these developers very clearly Souls fans, it's obvious that they play a lot of Destiny 2. Not a bad thing in this case.
Okay.
It's really neat.
There's not like a microtransaction shop or anything.
Oh no! It's like you find them in the game. There's like some like currency you get from doing like multiplayer stuff. One thing that's really neat is that you know how like Souls has like the puddles of blood, like the blood stains.
Yeah.
You can find dropped lanterns, which is kind of the equivalent here. And if you interact with them with your lamp, it will highlight and buff the enemy that killed that person. And if you can avenge them, not only do you get more souls, but you also get some currency that you can then spend at an NPC for other items. And some of those items are also like the tinctures. So it's like there's some interesting like things, or they're trying to do stuff a bit differently with the multiplayer. And honestly, I think it's a cool system.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of the not necessarily that, but like you reminded me. Like one of the systems in this game is like how you can like suck the souls of your enemies, kind of like leash them out of enemies.
Soul Flay, yep.
You're right, yeah. And like that seemed pretty. There reminded me of folklore from the PS3. Actually,
that's really cool because like when you Soul Flay them, you can like choose whether you want to push them away or if you want to push them to the left or right. So one thing you can do is if you're having trouble with an enemy that has a lot of health and is like super powerful, are they next to a cliff? Soul flay them and just fling them off the cliff.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
It's like, yeah, it's one of those things where this will be really good once it gets patched up a bit, but also I'm glad that it seems to be doing well on PC besides the ratings.
Right.
Because I'm really curious to see what this developer's next game is going to be, because this is a really solid start.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it does well enough for them to like, continue to like make. I don't want them to make it necessarily a Souls like that, but I really want to see like what else this studio can do. It's like, especially because like they like have that knowledge with Unreal Engine 5 now, and you and to see where they go next with it.
As far as I'm concerned, this is as far as I'm concerned, this is probably the most impressive Unreal Engine 5 game I've played yet so far.
I can see that. Yeah. I think the one that has caught my eye in terms of like an Unreal Engine 5 game was that demo for the RoboCop game. It's like that's the
Ooh, right. I need to download that.
Yeah, the graphical fidelity and the way they kind of captured like the essence of like that film is really striking. So both this and that RoboCop game are like good showcases of like what Unreal Engine 5 is capable of early on.
Yeah, it's gonna be really nice in a couple years when the PC hardware catches up with Unreal Engine 5 a bit more, and developers feel a bit more comfortable stretching it, because it's like it feels like you can see how impressive it can be now with like if you have like top of the line hardware, but it just definitely feels like an engine that which isn't a bad thing that's looking forward, but now that we're having games released for it, it's like, okay,
it's gonna be a big transition period, pretty much, of like everyone has to we can't like it's pretty much forcing everyone to move forward with like with their hardware, because I think that's gonna be a real pain point of like we'll continue to get like these performance issues because people aren't upgrading their hardware for Unreal Engine 5.
It almost feels like Unreal Engine 5 was designed with the current consoles as a baseline, like an actual baseline.
Right.
And so and considering like a lot of PCs now, like to get a PC that's stronger than like a PS5 or a Series X, you're going to spend at least like $1,000. So
it's a big pain point. Like it's going to be, if you want to catch up with like the newest releases that's pushing like graphical fidelity forward, or like you're just gonna, but they're always the steady,
or you can just
slow games of like who like are developing up to like the PS4 point as well.
Or if you're fine with just going on low settings, you can just play this on Steam Deck. It works fine. So.
Do Ultra on 480p.
I think internally it's 400p low. So.
Chow, I wanna know like how far did you get into Lords of the Fallen, and did you just like fall off after a certain point?
I played like a few hours. I think I got really annoyed with the Unreal World mechanics. It was just like I feel the mobs there are kind of like HP sponges, and they're like all over the place. So I'm like, oh man, it feels kind of like a chore because you're explaining the same place twice.
Right.
If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I can see that. Do you think they're gonna try to push forward with it, or you're just like, nah, I'm good?
I think after I finish Lies of P, but who knows what now will be, right? I mean, I suck at Souls games, so it'll probably take me even longer to progress these games.
Yeah, how far are you to Lies of P?
About like 5 hours in.
Okay.
I think I was like past beating one of the. What's it? It's a boss where you kind of meet like your puppet maker. That's kind of like where I am.
Okay.
If you know what I'm saying. But yeah,
Adam, as a connoisseur of Souls-like games without playing any of the mainline Souls games, Adam, are you gonna play Lies of P or Lords of the Fallen?
I might. I don't know which one to start with though.
It sounded like you started Lords of the Fallen, because if you start Lies of P first, maybe you'll hate Lords of the Fallen. It sounds like.
No. My impression is, I like to call this Lords of the Fallen, which is a Link to the Past done wrong. If you get what I'm saying.
Okay, that's an interesting comparison. Okay, I mean that's Lords of the Fallen. That out now for PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. Have you actually heard any of the performance on Xbox Series X or S, James, for this game?
I haven't been playing it on console.
Well,
I've only
they put out like a Twitter message, those Twitter messages where they put like a banner around it or some color or whatnot, and they said like, we have a patch on PC and PS5, but Xbox wait just a bit, and then like the next day they're like, all right, we have a patch on Xbox. It's like, okay, I don't know, I have no idea what the reception was though.
I have it on the PS5. It also gave me the DLC, which none of you guys got for some reason. Apparently, I got the DLC.
Nice flex. Okay.
Yeah, we got the DLC with the DLC. Well, no, like James said, full disclosure, they sent us two PlayStation 5 codes, and they sent us 2 PC codes. It's like, okay, we didn't really ask for that, but thanks.
Yeah, so I boot up the game, and I have like one extra class to start out. And then I look at Junior's guide, he's like, you're missing that class. And everyone tells me, that's a DLC class, you idiot. I'm like, what?
Yes, everyone said DLC class, you idiot.
That's exactly what I said. Yep.
I'm paraphrasing here, but you get what I'm saying, right? It's yeah. It turns out like there's that class. It's this dude that you watch in the intro that gets fucking murdered, and now you get to play it like immediately. Like normally you had to go through like lots of like hoops to get it unlocked.
So it's like an early unlock. It's not something that's exclusive to just buying it. You can eventually unlock that class. Okay.
Yeah, but if it's not like in there immediately, then you're not going to be starting with it. It'll be like a new game plus option at this point, right?
I mean, some people like doing new game pluses in Souls. I like doing new game pluses in Souls. Now I don't know about Souls. Like Souls likes is like kind of hit or miss for new game plus, but definitely for Souls games, I do.
No. New game plus, you play as the naked dude, where you try to flex to beat the whole game without any armor.
If I really want to min max, maybe. Rarely do I do that. Okay, so that's Lords of the Fallen came out this week. Then the rest of it, we'll start with you, Chow, because the Steam Next Fest went up. Of course, Steam Next Fest means there's a lot of demos to try out for upcoming games, mainly indie games. One game that we've talked about on this podcast is this Astra Knights of Veda game, which is basically is I forgot who's developing exactly, but they're trying to mimic the art style of Vanillaware.
It's called Flint, I think that's what the developer is called.
Okay, and it seems to be like a side scroller game that's coming to mobile and PC. And it's a free to play title. Tell us about this Astra game.
Okay, so this Knights of Veda is actually a sequel to Dragon Blaze. I went and looked and did my research. Dragon Blaze is a gacha game that was kind of like their copycat of Princess Connect sort of thing.
Okay,
it's like a auto battle or kind of style looking gacha game.
Okay.
But yeah, I never played the original, so I can't really say if this is accurate. But it looks
I believe Astra is like titled like Dragon Blaze 2 in some other territories.
Yeah. If you look up like the Korean trailers for this game, it's still called Dragon Blaze 2, like in Korean. But they just changed the English title, I guess, to probably distance itself. Like, it's not a sequel, you can play it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also a Dragon Blaze in Americas.
That's
game,
true.
Right?
The first Dragon Blaze is available in English, so it's not like you can't play it. If you really want to, you can.
I also think they don't want to get mixed up with the shoot 'em up game that was made by this Japanese developer, the Psycho. I think that's how you say it. I forgot how to say their name.
I mean, to be fair, Dragon Blaze is not really a very unique title. So
I know. I'm saying there is a shoot 'em up game from a pretty well known Japanese shoot 'em up developer, right? So.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So they probably don't want to get mixed up with that game. But yeah, I played it. Not impressed. I like a lot of things about it, but the things that it got wrong. So that's all I have to say.
So I heard about like the gameplay of this game from friends who tried out. Because that full disclosure, I was gonna play this demo as well, but when you install it on Steam, when you boot it up for the first time, it's like, hey, do you want to install this mysterious ace setup.exe? I'm like, what the fuck is this? And then it's like it's an anti-cheat installed for an anti-cheat, but like the anti-cheat itself, as I look more into it, it's like it's kind of shady a little bit. I'm like, I don't know, I'm not really comfortable with installing that, so I kind of backed out.
I'm one of those guys that when Street Fighter 5 installed that rootkit, I didn't even care. I was just
ride or die.
So it's almost the same concept, right?
So what I heard about from like friends who tried it is this plays a little bit like Dungeon Fighter Online, but also they copied a lot of UI elements from Genshin Impact.
It's like everything is a copycat. It's literally the one guy that goes, "Hey, friend, can I copy your homework?" And change like the name, and that's it. It's like, hey, it's like okay, it's like okay.
So before we get into like the well, I don't know if they added monetization, but like the gacha elements of this game, let's talk about first like what the gameplay flow is like. What is the structure of this game? Is it like stage based, and is it just like a straight up like beat 'em up brawler type of gameplay?
It's a stage base with like a beat them up kind of gameplay. The Echoes of Mana is probably the closest comparison I have from something recent.
Okay, so is there like a stamina system that you consume to like play stages?
Yes.
Okay.
But it charges super slow, just like in Genshin does.
Oh, geez.
So it's like, oh man, I really want to use that because in Genshin, if you run out of energy, you run out really fast. You just do like 2 stages and it's gone, and you had to wait for like 10 hours for it to recharge. So it prevents you from grinding, right?
But also in Genshin, you have like there's a lot of content you can do that's not stamina based, like exploring the world, finding goodies.
Yeah, but here it's there is certain contents there that you can explore without using energy, but at the same time, it's like the stuff that improves your character requires energy, and then there's also RNG required from the gearers, and you're like, shit, you'd be forced to do that all day. It takes all the worst elements from Genshin and Honkai Star Rail thrown into this game because I hate everything about their monetization. I despise it. In fact, it's like I feel like as me from a player who wants to have the strongest of every character and you can't grind for it and you only have to spend money, that's the worst kind of monetization in my opinion.
It doesn't feel good. So in this game, like, what are exactly like working towards? Is there different characters you can play, or is it just you have a base character with different equipment?
Let's just start out with the story first, okay? When in the beginning of the story, the intro is actually very cool. I actually love this intro. It starts with this guy trying to liberate this kingdom from this tyrant, and they're like going in like D-Day style in these boats, and there was like raining arrows of flame shooting at their boats.
Okay.
And so it's like everyone just kind of get murdered, and they get off the boat and they start fighting to get to the castle. And at the end, you find the king. He kills this woman. Summons this gigantic like Lovecraft demon to kill her. Kills everyone there, right? And then the Valkyrie comes out of nowhere, and then she basically kills. I think she kills the guy or something. I don't know. It's like everything went blank from here, right? And the Valkyrie is actually like the goddess Veda, right? So that's why it's called Knights of Veda, right?
Yeah.
And she basically gives you a new body, and this is where you create your avatar, right?
Okay.
Like you could be reborn as a girl, but the character has amnesia, so it's just like whatever at this point, right? So this is where you create your character, and then basically she gives you kind of like fragments of souls of legendary heroes from that fought for her before, and that's kind of like the gacha system. You're basically using that to summon the soul, so your character can transform into those other characters.
So you're basically rolling to play as other characters. Then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I'm getting like Valkyrie profile vibes from this part kind of thing, right? But like just like the way how the story is presented, right? And as you get further in the story, she wants you to find a piece of her body so that she can be resurrected, and there's 12 of them. And I'm guessing like how the game structure is like each world or each major patch is exploring one world to collect a piece of her body. I'm guessing that's kind of like how they're structuring it. That's my guess, right? And she also creates this fairy for you, which is like their Paimon knockoff.
Oh boy. Does it have a name?
She calls herself Belle Snow.
It's cute. It's not like Paimon backwards or something.
No. But she's less annoying than Paimon. Paimon's the most annoying side character from now on. I think everyone hates Paimon because Paimon is too stupid and repetitive. It treats everyone like a child. It's like, hey, did you get that, Traveler? I don't get it. It's like, I don't know what's 1 + 1. It's like,
great.
That's like Paimon in a nutshell, right? And that's why I like Honkai a lot more, because March is less annoying and she's a lot smarter. And you could even like make fun of her too, like saying that she's stupid, right? In certain boards.
That's actually something because you can make fun of her.
You can't make fun of Paimon. Paimon is just literally, she's too stupid to get the joke, right?
Okay, all right.
But
Okay.
so, anyways, you're onto your quest, and then everything will start from there. It's like it's like all the gacha element will be like from here. Eventually, they like find this box, and it's like if you collect like these crystals, which is like part of her soul, the blacksmith daughters like will smash it, and she'll get your gacha system all summoned.
So, but when you summon, like, is it only characters that you're summoning, or is it like pieces of gear as well?
Both. They have separate banners, and they all copy from Genshin directly. So there's like a
Okay.
web banner. There's like a beginner banner where it has the exact same pity, and it doesn't even tell you the fucking rates too. It's like when you play the game.
Okay.
I did get SSR in like my first 10 pull, and I'm like, maybe it's okay. But
Maybe
I
it's
checked the records. I'm like, wait a minute, where is the rates? I don't see the rates. I don't know what the SSR rates are. Right?
Okay, weird.
Yeah, I tried summoning. They actually have a pity counter in this one, unlike Honkai and Genshin, because that one you have to literally count how many times you rolled, and that's how you like determine when the pity is here. I don't know why they need to hide it. That's one of the things.
I feel like that's not allowed if you're not allowed to hide rates. I don't believe. Maybe it's like they can bypass it because of the demo. Maybe
Maybe it's beta where the rates aren't fully set yet, and they don't want
maybe.
to put it down yet. But you can't see the rates in there.
I heard about this game that like the performance is weird because like it doesn't even like run at like a steady frame rate. Like it's like there's intentional slow mo in it during combat. I don't know if like
I think a lot of people don't remember that you could change the settings because I have trouble following UI, and I didn't even know that the game was running on low until I like changed the setting after I got through the tutorial. Then the game runs smooth for me. But I played for like 5 hours not knowing that. Oh wait, this game's on low settings and 30 FPS set on default for some stupid reason, right?
Okay.
So maybe they didn't know about that and forgot to set it. I know there's some jitters in there, but I didn't feel it once I changed the settings.
Okay.
I think the game doesn't do a good job of telling you to change the setting. In fact, like once I got through the tutorial, I didn't even know I could move to the next stage. I was like, it says press E to teleport to that location. I'm like, okay, let's teleport to that location. It's like that area's not unlocked yet. I'm like, what? It's like, I thought the demo was over from there. But it turns out you could like walk out of this stage and you go to the new area. I'm like, okay. Like, it wasn't really clear about it.
So is the gameplay fun? You know, is it good?
I feel the gameplay is all right. It's a little unbalanced. You can just kind of like switch to a different character, you get in trouble. It's like 4 different characters. It's very hard to get killed in this game. I guess that's why like it even has like the spiral abyss from Genshin, if you know what the spiral abyss or the memories of chaos from Honkai. It's like you have like this time limit to clear these stages. You even have something like that, right? So I feel like later on it's more or less about survivability and more about like how fast you can kill everything. So I think that's what your goals runs towards.
So like your character has like I assume your character has like a basic combo attack string and like maybe 2 to 3 abilities that you can use with them.
Well, basically the character that you start off with is this knight called Leon. He's like the tank. So he has like this one skill that gives you like a free hit invincibility, and then his super is just like he just charges directly the enemy. It's kind of like a useless super in my opinion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then another character you could switch to is this archer. I forgot his name, but he basically can place sentry guns, and the guns like starts like shoot enemies.
Nice archer skill. Here's my skill. Place sentry guns. Cool archer. Okay.
And then there was this other mage, which is Rani. I think you kind of remember her from the intro because it shows that we saved the world, and the arrow just shoots her right in the heart and kills her.
Okay.
It's like, so I guess that's like why you remember her, but you get to use her too, and she's like kind of like what's it? I think there's like 3 elements. I think I'm trying to remember. There's like bleed element or something. I don't know. I can't remember what exactly it is, but there's elements in play in here where you're forced to switch to other elements, like break like the shields of characters easier.
Okay.
But anyways, I
have to mention this, Chow. As you're like, are you like flinging things across your room or something? Because you just hear things dropping in your room.
Something fell over.
Okay. Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, it was just like, oh my god, this game Like as soon as I got out of the tutorial and then I looked at the UI, I'm like, this is just Genshin. It's like, could they just not have?
Yeah, so Chow put up a little preview for this, and I edited it. I didn't really know much about the game. I had covered some news for it. I knew it was a free-to-play game, but then Chow actually included a screenshot. I think it was just like a side-by-side comparison. Was it Genshin in this game? And
That was Honkai.
or it was Honkai Star Rail. Okay, they look the same to me. Sorry, but they
even
they had like the same menu, so like same placement and everything. Very.
But yeah, the same rates. I think not like same rates, but same amount of currency cost to roll. It's 160 gems. What is it? They have a beginner banner. They have was it the fate systems? They're eidolons or constellation from the games where you summon duplicates, and that unlocks like a very powerful passive for that character. It's like it just copied everything 1-to-1, and everyone basically told them that it's like, yeah, we're not playing this game because of the gacha elements. It's like we're not playing Genshin and Honkai for the gacha. We're playing it either for Genshin because we like exploring that world, or in Honkai, it's more like I'm exploring for the story and I like the character designs. That's basically two different appeals, and this game just chose to copy the worst aspect of those two games. And
I wonder what they're gonna do the feedback, because obviously this is kind of like the first like public demo that they're showing, and then everyone's. I think it's been a comment center like people try to like, and then they just walk away from it from all these reasons you're given. It's like what the fuck are you guys doing? So
like, I know there's certain like people are like, yeah, they like the game, but like I can't imagine this game staying too long. I feel like I'm not like trying to give like Hoyoverse like this pass. I think they got lucky in my opinion where all the successes. They released the game at a good time when everyone was trapped in their house during the pandemic, and the game grew like wild success, and that brand carried over to other games too. So I feel they were lucky, right?
They also kind of like cursed that space, and it seemed that like everyone's trying to chase that same like you see how much profit that Hoyoverse has gotten from Genshin, and now with Honkai, and then that has kind of made a big dynamic shift on like developers in the space now are going to chase that same kind of high that they did.
Yeah, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I also know that Hoyoverse MiHoYo has like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of developers working on those games.
Yes.
So like they're putting they're throwing their weight around. They have a lot of money behind it, a lot of investment into it. And so if you are a developer who wants to compete in that space, you kind of have an uphill climb to make. So
yeah, they already made a ton of profit, and they have way too much resources now. So they can't be beat at this moment. I would say, yeah, to try something new if you want to break the whole genre at this point.
Wow. Well, let's see. Anything else you want to add in for Astra, Chow?
The game has free voice actings in there. There's English voices, there is Japanese voice, and there's Korean voices. I know people don't really care about voice acting, but I do. So
did you play?
I try all three of it. I try all three. I like the Japanese one, but the English one, I feel like if they're not a character you can play as, they have like the worst voice for some reason. Like the NPC that tells you. Actually, wait, this applies to the Japanese one too. There's like this one NPC that tells you to get lost because it's just like a background character. It has the worst voice for every version for some reason.
Did you play this on controller or keyboard and mouse?
I had to use both.
Wait, you have to use both? What do you mean?
Okay, so sometimes like the UI does not work, so I had to switch back to like the keyboard to like click on the UI.
Oh, okay.
Because like the joypad doesn't support all of it, right? That's why I was complaining about that. And then if I try to play on keyboard, it'll be like, oh, you can't use the mouse to do everything, so you're like forced to play both hands on the keyboard as a beat 'em up game, and that's fucking annoying for me.
Oh, it's like DFO, yeah. Okay.
So at this point, it's like I'm just using gamepad during gameplay sequence, but if I need to like interact with the UI, I had to use the mouse and keyboard. Okay. It's like half the thing just doesn't seem to work. So at least that's for me. And I also had this really bad habit in this game where, I keep pressing F3. Because in Genshin and Honkai, everything you press F3, that's where you start the gacha. I keep hitting that button. There's nothing in here.
That seems like a you problem.
But other than that, what else do I want to remember? One thing that might annoy the shit out of people is that when you use a skill in this game and it's on cooldown, at the beginning of the game, the goddess will keep telling you that skill's not ready, but when the fairy replaces the goddess, she keeps saying that your skill's not ready. I can see that annoys the shit out of people. It'll be like playing MMOs back in the day. Your skill is not ready yet. Your skill is not ready yet. Can you imagine?
I mean, that's just nostalgic for me.
But
I don't know.
It has that, so I'm not sure that annoys people, but it has one of those elements in there.
Okay. Well, that's Astra Knights of Veda. Veda. I don't think there's any like a firm release date for that.
Supposed to be this year.
Well, good luck, I guess. I mean, it's not a lot of time left, so we'll see. I've been checking out a few Steam Next Fest games as well. I'm just gonna list off the handful here. I tried out that Inti Creates Love Live themed platformer Johann Hellion Blaze in the Deep Blue. Great name.
I played that too, and I watched the anime with my buddy, and we both went. We criticizing the show. Like first time, like in the first 2 episodes, someone saves them. They call it $1 Million Club Baby, and we're like, "This is the worst name ever. It's supposed to be $1 Million Club. Where's the plural?"
So I think there's a pretty solid platformer that the demo that they put out. It controls well. Indie creates a pretty talented team. You kind of have you're controlling Johanne with her pet Lapis. You can summon Lapis to do a basic attack. It has a neat crafting system where like you as you beat up enemies and like find collectibles and materials, you can actually craft different weapons and then you use a resource called darkness points. That's part of her Chunibyo personality to use them, and then you can call upon the other Aqua's Love Live members once you rescue them to do environmental puzzle stuff along the way. It's a pretty short demo. What did you think of it?
I think it was pretty good. It was about 40 minutes long for the demo. Yeah. It's like it's not quite like near as you think it is, because it's like you thought it ends in the second zone, but no, it ends in the third zone. So I'm thinking that you need an ability to get from the third zone to clear the second zone.
There is a little bit of attack. You can stay in the air like indefinitely if you switch between basic attack and like the weapon task. I just kind of speed ran through the first boss, kind of abusing that pretty much. So that's a bit of nice tech in there, but I'll probably pick it up because I think there's I support anytime they try to do like an anime license, especially like rhythm or not rhythm, but musical based like anime license like Love Live. That's not a rhythm game, so instead of like releasing another rhythm game for Love Live, it's actually like an action platformer that has like weapons you can use, and that's kind of like a neat direction for the series. I think they're also planning to release like a Slay the Spire card deck building turn based combat roguelike next year as well, based on Yohane the Parhelion as well, which is sure, I guess. I think.
I think with the franchise.
I mean that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool.
I just feel like if I was watching Love Live, I just feel like if they wanted to make a sequel with the same cast, but they don't want them like out of high school, is this what you do? You just turn it to a fantasy.
They should do that with more things, to be honest. Make like a Idol Master or Love Light like Souls like. Be sick. I'd be down.
I don't want to see these girls get brutally murdered by giant demons.
Well, then get good. What can I say?
But yeah, like I played it. It's like the crafting system. I think it's like, what is it? You don't actually get to level up in this game, so I'm guessing like that whole crafting system is kind of like your gearing progression in this game.
Yeah, I think so.
Did you find a way to go back to town other than getting like killed in combat?
No, I didn't find that. I've not. Yeah, I don't think I found a way to get back to town like that.
Okay, because you get back to town when you get KO'd in combat. So
yeah,
I'm like,
but I never died. Also, that's the thing. So I never had to go back to town.
Damn, what a flex!
Sorry.
Oh, I got Kato once, and basically when you get Kato, Lapis will bring Johanna back to town, and this is where you get to spend your money and buy potions and items in there. But you say you never went back to town.
That's right. I'm sorry, I'm a god gamer.
Uh,
Another action platformer that I checked out was this game called Tevi, Tevi. It's from the developers of Rabbi Ribai, or whatever, however you pronounce that. And that was a pretty well liked Metroidvania. This is like an action platformer, but with Metroidvania as well. This one has like a big like focus on like combo attacks. Pretty much, you have like you basically unlock like combo strings to make it like more of like a stylish combat action. Like combo juggles like Devil May Cry almost. And it has like a focus on like switching between like different sorts of like magic spells to not necessarily be your main source of like offense, but to help you like keep enemies in a stagger state. This was a pretty neat demo. I was pretty impressed by it. As expected from the Rabbi Ribeye devs. Pretty much controls well, animates really well, and it's like a very small slice of the game. It's like a demo area almost to like get like your first upgrade, like jumping higher. So this was great. There's also like different like skills you can learn and find in the environment, and there's like an action point system so you can slot them into your character as long as you stay within the action point limit. So you can like find different ways to like customize your sort of play style and what you want to focus on. So that's it. That was a really cool. If you're the custom Robo, Battle Core Robots was a demo that very much inspired by custom Robo, where you get like your base robot, and then you get a lot of parts to tinker with it to go up against another robot, like in a one-on-one combat arena. So you can like have different mobility tools, different weapons, different sorts of like super attacks. So if you're kind of getting that custom Robo itch, definitely to try out and see. As for RPGs, the two RPGs I really liked playing in this Steam Next Fest was one is Sovereign Syndicate. This is very much inspired by Disco Elysium and the way it's presented and the way it kind of plays. It's you're like an isometric like an isometric sort of like perspective, but on the side you have like this text box like like Disco Elysium, and then a lot of Sovereign Syndicate is like in Disco Elysium, like there are like voices in your head. You're kind of constantly speaking to like your animal instinct, or you're speaking to like the more measured moral voice in your head. So in this demo, you got to play as this Minotaur character, and before you even start, you can like uh, pick between one of four different like distinctions of like how you want to focus on what kind of nature this Minotaur is. Are they like more charismatic and more reserved, or do you want them to tap into like their more animal instincts, more kind of like brash and more rude?
So is there a point in this game where you wake up and you like, what is it? You check your face in the mirror to determine who you are? I'm joking.
I know, but I don't think.
You said this game. You said it. I'm gonna emphasize it just based on the screenshot. It is very like obviously Disco Elysium inspired. You could even say it's almost like too inspired. Like this, it's like the UI and the colors and it's very similar. I mean, Disco Elysium is excellent. So like, if there's anything to be inspired by, that's certainly something. But yeah, it definitely wears that inspiration on its sleeve for sure.
Yeah. And there's dice rolls for skill checks as well, and depending on like what sort of like stats you lean into. And then like the one thing that like it really distinguishes it from Disco Elysium is because you have these one of three playable characters. Unlike the Disco Elysium, you just have you have that one playable character. The people in this world will based on their marketing and how they talked about this game, different people can like treat you differently based on like biases and prejudices, because there's like different races in this game. Like you start like as a Minotaur, while another person might be like, I think, a human or a robot. And so unlike the Disco Elysium, like the way that like even your the things that distinguish you just is beyond just like what sort of stats you roll into, but also what sort of character and what sort of appearance you take up as well. Obviously, in the way you speak and your mannerisms to others may get you a different outcome compared to like another character. So I guess that's the one thing that like really distinguishes it from Disco Elysium, because this has multiple characters. So I don't exactly know how long like a playthrough of this game is exactly, but it was pretty neat. I think this is coming out January, so it's just around the corner, mid-January, I believe. So yeah, Sovereign Syndicate. But if you like Disco Elysium, worth checking out. The other one I checked out was a game called the Thaumaturge, and that's coming out early December. And this is a neat game where you take up this role of this guy who's like a supernatural investigator, I guess, where he has like this demonic being that follows him around to aid him with his investigations and combat. So this profession, being a thaumaturge, basically means that like he has like heightened perception awareness to um, search for items in the environment, and like because he has like a strong spiritual sense of heightened by his thaumaturge powers, he can like see almost like the backstory of like items of like what they represent to a person, so you can find out, trace back where this item came from, like which character this item came from, and then kind of glean over, like make an observation, and then come to a conclusion based on the observation that they made. And then this leads to like one of 4 base stats, which is like perception, intelligence, strength, etc. So at the very beginning of that demo, his thaumaturge powers are weakened, so you have to go meet with Rasputin to go restore them. And then once you get your demonic being fully restored with you, it starts aiding you in combat. And the combat is pretty cool because it's turn-based battles, and the way that you conduct combat pretty much is like based on like rounds. So for example, a quick attack will take up 1 round, while a heavy attack may take up like 2 rounds. And it's all based on like this like round timeline. So you'll see incoming enemy attacks on this timeline. So like you can determine, hey, will my heavy attack come out before or after this enemy attacks, based on how long your timeline is compared to theirs, based on how many rounds it'll take for them to take their attack out. And what's really cool about this is how skill upgrades work. So like instead of like basic level ups, you gain like new skill points, and you slot those skills into one of those 4 base stats that not only raise like your out of combat utility for them when solving cases, but also help you out in combat, in the sense that, let's say for example, if I level up and I get skill point and I slot into perception, it'll also once I put up that skill point into perception, it'll give me a skill that is like a 60% chance to interrupt enemy attacks. And this skill that I get, I can choose whether I want to slot into like my basic options. Do I want to slot it into my quick attack, my heavy attack, and so forth. Obviously, like this kind of skill, you probably want to slot into your quick attack, because since your quick attack comes out faster than any other attack, if you use a quick attack on an upcoming enemy, it now has a 60% chance to interrupt their upcoming
I have a question.
Attack. Yeah.
So are you leveling up Victor, or Victor is the character's name, or are you leveling up
Yeah.
like his demon? Or both?
Both actually, because like the demon also has after like the demon is restored to you, you choose Victor's actions, and then also the demon's actions has a separate like set of actions it can do alongside you, and that's on their own, and then that takes up a certain amount of like rounds and turns. So it's like almost like a separate party member that you're controlling.
I was curious about that in terms of like,
yeah.
Okay, so you have the character, and then you have his salutor, I think is what they're called, the little demons.
Yeah.
So
and what's really cool about it is like you're not just, obviously the goal of combat is to get their HP down to 0, but the way you go about it isn't like so straightforward, because sometimes if you want to like use like your powered up like attack, like your almost like a super attack, you need to get like a separate resource called reason or focus. I forgot what the term was, down to 0. So you may want to use like an attack that like instead of focuses on their HP, focuses on like reducing their like focus or reason instead. So you and your Salutor can like do your like more powerful attacks.
Is that how you
in
pronounce
there.
it? Did they say it in the game?
I think it's Salutor. Yeah,
Salutor,
believe.
Salutor. Okay,
Yeah.
Salutor. Okay.
And
this game is developed by a Polish dev, and I think it's like that sort of area mythologies and whatnot.
Yeah, it has a pretty cool vibe to it. I really dug what I saw from the demo. I didn't get to complete the whole thing. Stop demos by the time I'm like, if at a certain point when I play a demo and I feel like okay, I'm sold on it, I usually stop playing the demo because I'm like,
there are
I don't
exceptions
wanna...
though, like with Silent Hill.
Oh yeah, they like carry over to the full game.
Yeah,
like
that one is just like you're just being efficient.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna power up before I get the real game. So
yeah. Like Pikmin 4's demo was one of those things where it's like I wasn't sure if I was going to play that launch, and then I played the demo, and then 3 hours later, it's like you finished the demo. It's like I forgot I was playing a demo.
But yeah, I mean, those are two pretty good solid RPG demos.
So Thaumaturge comes out in December for PC, getting console versions next year, and then Sovereign Syndicate's coming out in January. Is that also a Polish dev? Are those two Polish games?
I don't know about Sovereign Syndicate.
Ukrainian? Let me check.
I forgot. Yeah, I know Thaumaturge is Polish, but I forgot about Sovereign Syndicate, where they were based from. But also both, like especially Thaumaturge, like I really like the graphical style of it. It looks very pretty. And I think it's also not just like that you're starting demonic Salutor. I think there's like other different Salutors you get along the way in Thaumaturge as well.
Sovereign Syndicate is Canadian.
Okay, cool.
Canadian RPGs.
Yeah. There we go. Represent, Chow, right?
No.
No? Okay. Dang. All right. So yeah, that's another solid Steam Next Fest batch of games that I got to check out, and like, yeah, these are really cool games. Wishlisted them and can't wait for them to come out.
That's why I don't play demos, guys. The wishlist takes forever.
I love Steam Next Fest. They're like mini Christmases. Like, oh yes, I get to check out a lot of games. As we mentioned, we have a Lords of the Fallen review from here on the site. Go give that a read. And also, yeah, Paige went to PAX Australia and put out a bunch of previews on what she got to check out there. Got to check out Grist. Got to check out Broken Roads. She definitely, especially like Broken Roads. She's like, finally, freaking RPG.
I have a couple of Australian and New Zealand friends who kind of are. I know 3, and all 3 of them, Paige being one of them, are all kind of like, I am not super into like the isometric computer RPGs, but being Australian or New Zealand, I feel like I have to play this one.
Obligated.
Developed from an Australian dev. So it's just sort of funny. Like the only reason I'm interested in this is because it's Australian. But Paige actually made a comment in her preview that like almost all games that are set in Australia, like if you she even linked to me a Wikipedia page, or no, she didn't, one of my other friends did, or like games that are set in Australia, and it's like all sports games, racing games that have like a track in Australia, or like soccer games or fighting games that might have an Australian stage, and like it's pretty pitiful in terms of like games set in Australia.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're talking about racing games, Forza Horizon 3, one of the best Forza Horizons was Australia. So I mean, that's
okay. I forgot that was Australia.
That was my point, though, is that almost all games that are set in Australia are like sports or racing games or fighting games. Yeah. So it's like finally there's an RPG or like something that's like has a narrative and characters and story in Australia.
It was pretty cool because Paige got to talk to like the game director and the art lead and several other developers from the Broken Roads, and they got really into like, you know, the nitty gritty of like, like why is it like specifically set in Western Australia. I got to talk about like the kind of their process of like, okay, how did you like recreate like Australian environment into your game, and like at some parts of it, they're like, yeah, we also incorporated like Google Maps Street Views into like researching like numerous locations for the game, so forth. So it's always fascinating seeing like how developers like not only do groundwork and like in-person screenshots, but also refer to like digital imagery of certain locations, because some locations could be like considered dangerous to like just do field work on.
Yep.
I think there's also like that other problems, like when like another publisher, when they get like some other developers to make for them, the developer doesn't seem to get all that credit, so you don't really know where it actually comes from. Like, I don't know, I'm just using like Castlevania Lords, was it? I don't know, the new one as an example, where it was like developed by Mercury Studios. I think that's like in Spanish.
Mercury Steam, yeah, Spain.
Oh, Spain, yeah. And it's like you don't know that, right? So most people will look at a Konami tag and think it's like developed in Japan or something,
Or you have, I mean, I think people just need to pay attention sometimes. Like I don't know, Luigi's Mansion is developed by who developed the most recent Luigi's Mansion?
The developer for every Luigi's Mansion besides the first would be Next Level Games.
And where are they based?
I think they're also Canadian.
Yeah, so that there are Japanese studio or Japanese publishers that have studios not in Japan. So it happens.
Actually, I think they haven't announced who's doing the Peach game, but looking at the visuals, I wouldn't be shocked if Next Level's doing that Peach game too.
I also like that Paige also like noted with the game director of Broken Rose that like there's a glossary pop up for Australian terms in that game too, for Aussie slang. So that's always fun when developers give us that courtesy of like, I don't fucking know European slang, I don't know Australian slang. So give me a bone.
There was a point in the interview that Paige had with the Broken Rose game director. This isn't too weird, but like they're like, can you get pissed? And get pissed in Australian means get drunk. It's like, yes, you can even get blotto.
What's blotto mean?
I think that's a type of drink, but I think blotto means different things depending on where you are. But I think
That's
in Australian
awesome.
phrase, it's just a type of drink, blotto. I might be wrong. See, this is why they have to have a glossary in the game for Australian words.
Absolutely.
They say they speak English, but I'm not sure.
You also have a glossary too in Sovereign Syndicate as well for certain terms in that game.
I'm trying to remember, what's the hardest English to understand? Is it Scottish or is it Irish? The one where the people talk.
They're both. They're similar.
But oh damn! Is that what it comes to now?
As long as we don't discuss how to pronounce a robot cat's name, so.
That Paige also put up a brief for Blackheart, which is described as an RPG with a magical prince and a dysfunctional family and a dying kingdom.
Sounds like Atelier Meru.
So this one really looks like, I think this is like a 3-person game, 3-person studio. This one looks like very small scale indie. So my point is like not super high polish or presentation, but it looks like a 2D action RPG game that's, they said, inspired by like Hyper Light Drifter and a little bit by Hades. But it's not a roguelike or anything like that. Also inspired by Children of Morta, which I know is a game that kind of an indie scale game that a lot of people liked. So, just kind of I think that's a New Zealand developer, just small studio making a game. PAX Australia is where they're going to show it. So Paige had a chance to check it out.
Paige also got to not only put up a review for Long Gone Days, which is finally got the review up for like the full release of Long Gone Days, because this has been in development for quite some time, but also got to do an interview about the game with the developer as well, the project's creator. A lot of like this is a game that like, it was one of those weird things where when Zach Reese, when he was still with us at the site, he put up a review for Long Gone Days for the early access version, but this was still like when early access was still somewhat of a new concept, so it was hard to like.
Wait a second. It's been in early access since before Zach moved over to Sega PR. That means it's been in early access. Jesus Christ.
Yes.
And so Long Gone Days is developed by a Chilean developer in Chile. I also have a Chilean friend, I think I'm pronouncing that right, Chilean.
Yeah.
That they also had like a similar response to my Australian friends. Who are like, I'm from Chile. You don't see a lot of games developed here. I feel obligated to check this game out. Paige, in her review for this game, Long Gone Days, was she liked the characters in the story, and I've seen praise for that elsewhere too. And it's like a war story, and apparently it handles concepts like that of war and battling and conflict pretty pretty well in terms of like doesn't simplify it too much, doesn't it's not too dismissive. Apparently, it handles those sorts of topics and themes pretty well. Paige wasn't too fond of some like the puzzle out of combat exploration sort of things, where she said were a little handholdy. But otherwise, it seems like it's the sort of game where if you like narratives and RPGs, and if this is the sort of tone and vibe you like, worth checking out. So.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of praise also of like the story as well. Just like
let me check. Give me a second here. There was something in the interview about the inspirations for this game that I thought was kind of interesting, because it's not something that I expected going in. All right. So back when this is in the interview, Paige asked pretty point blank, were there any particular inspirations for this game? And one of the developers, might be the director, said, my inspirations were some older Squaresoft titles like Threads of Fate and Final Fantasy, along with Spanish RPG Maker projects like The Observer. There's also inspiration from several Shin Megami Tensei games, and the game that truly inspired me to actually begin development was Lucas Pope's Papers, Please. And I just thought that was kind of an interesting mix of games. You got Threads of Fate, Final Fantasy, Shin Megami Tensei, Spanish RPG Maker games, and Papers, Please. And you can, even not having played this game yet, kind of looking at it, it's like, yeah, I can kind of see, that I believe it. There's bits and pieces of all of those, I think, that I'm familiar with. So, but yeah, I just thought that was interesting about the different inspirations they had. So
yeah, that's quite a great mix of inspirations there. It's just it's a very visually striking game, and I do want to check it out. Because I got to see a little bit of it when I went to PAX West earlier this year too. So rounding off our features that came up this week, James got to write about some of the things that he talked about last week with the East 10 Nordics.
Basically a review, just an unscored review that's not called a review, but
yeah. And also his thoughts on FF14 Endwalker patch 6.5.
And a retrospective of the entire patch cycle, because like there's still like small patches to come, but for like overall, like Endwalker support is winding down, so it's the appropriate time to start like making like having some thoughts on the support as a whole.
And then onto the news. The big story this week is Sony finally unveiled the lighter, slimmer version of the PlayStation 5. And the interesting thing about this is that once again there'll be a version that has the disc drive and one that's a digital edition without the disc drive. But with the digital edition, you can actually pop out the side of it, and they'll release a separate like disc drive attachment add-on that you can actually just attach directly onto like the digital version as well, which was like kind of something I didn't expect. Actually, I didn't think about that, but that's and that HD Blu-ray drive that's going to be sold separately to do that is like $80 USD. But like these new versions are basically they're not any cheap, right? They're just like they're going to be like the new model to sell, and they're still going to be the same price.
And you also have to buy like a stand separately now. Is that what the people are saying?
If you want to stand it on the side, I think there's a separate piece you have to get for it.
Yeah, there's like on in one of the screenshots when you lay it off flat horizontally, there's like a little peg that you can like put on. Yeah, almost to kind of keep it balanced, which is I don't know. I don't know if it's adorable is the right word, but it's kind of like, that's.
I was hoping for something different. I still think the PS5 is the most ugliest console I've seen in my life.
It's not good.
It's like, didn't they say they deliberately designed it so it didn't look like anything else in your like entertainment cabinet? It's like, don't do that.
It's the black sheep of my household. You know?
Yeah, I don't see mine at all. Like I keep it like deliberately out of sight.
I literally always keep it behind my PC monitor so I don't have to look at the fucking thing.
It reminds me of that meme, the one with the Kaiba coat from Yu-Gi-Oh! Where he's wearing that white coat.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's I love that fucking meme. That's how I look at the PS5. It's just a fucking Kaiba.
Also, a really weird design decision is with this new model, the slimmer model, is they put an additional USB-C port up at front. I forgot if they replaced the USB-A port up front or they just added on the USB-C.
They replaced the USB-A port, which normally would be fine. The main problem I have is they're not the same like USB Type-C protocol. So that means that if you did have a PSVR 2, it's very possible now that you will plug it into the wrong USB Type-C port and you're not going to understand and you're going to have to troubleshoot.
And then also another thing here is the default storage space for this new slimmer model is going to be 1 terabyte instead of like the 800 and something gigabytes in the base models of PS5. So you'll have the full effective 1 terabyte range.
I didn't know 125 gigabytes of SSD storage was $50.
Just buy an SSD on it. SSD are like dirt cheap nowadays.
Yeah, you can literally buy a 1 terabyte Gen 4 SSD for like $40-$50. It's like, I don't know. At least it's easy if you're like primarily playing on PS5 to get extra storage nowadays. Man, Microsoft's decision just keeps getting worse and worse.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I haven't heard much about like the Xbox memory cards these days. They're still a thing, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Recently, I think Western Digital released their own versions of the SSDs because I think it was like after 2 years, Seagate's. I think it was Seagate that had the exclusivity for a bit. But anyways, like I said, you can buy 1 terabyte SSD for your PS5 for around $40 to $50. It was just very recently that you could get one of the proprietary 1 terabyte SSDs for an Xbox for $90 on sale.
Oh man, hot deals. And like you said, Chow, there is. I think they stopped like I forgot if they're still selling the normal vertical stand that came in base PS5s with this, but they're also selling a new vertical stand that has metallic components that'll be compatible for both this new slimmer model and the older, the bigger model.
At least you don't get milked, I guess.
I don't know why. I guess. But yeah, so that's kind of the big thing this week. Like, hey, you're waiting for a PS5 Slim. It's kind of weird what they did with the Slim because I would think with a slimmer model of PS5, and I was thinking about it in my head, I thought it would be less tall, but then they went slimmer the other way. Like, I'm slimming it down.
It is a little less tall. It's just not by much.
Yeah, it's still gigantic.
Yeah.
So interesting. Decision.
I think I've only used my PS5 for 2 games this year. That being Final Fantasy 16 and East 10. Nothing else.
I'll use it for Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth when that comes out. I can't wait for how long it will take to come out on PC.
Yeah, I think it like you, James. I think I used it for FF16 and then like for some other reviews, but that's about it. I'll put this one up because this was a major one that just recently happened as well. Microsoft finally completes its acquisition of Activision King. It is set and sealed. It is done with. All the governmental bodies that would have obstructed it have finally yielded and allowed it to happen. So that's pretty much the. I forgot when this started to. It was like sometime last year, like early last year, like spring of last year, I believe, where they announced this, and then it took, as they said, it would take probably summer this year, but it's fall for it to fully complete, and here we are. It's finally done.
I feel like this is some good news. I feel like Blizzard would be a much better company now, and Sony will have to step up the competition. So
I don't know. Only time will tell to see what will be the ramifications of this. And also part of this announcement is Activision Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick will be stepping down from the company as soon as next year hits, pretty much. So overseeing the acquisition, and then once the new year hits, he's out of there. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. Obviously, we're gonna probably see a lot more of those titles hit Game Pass. Maybe not immediately, but somewhat in the near future. Also, just I guess somewhat sort of related, like Diablo 4 is also coming to Steam in a few days as well. And yeah, and the recent remakes of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 also recently hit Steam, so it's coming to more marketplaces as well. That was previously like an Epic Game Store exclusive on PC. But we'll see exactly how this shakes out in the future for both of these companies. This is like once we noted back then, this is like easily probably the biggest acquisition in the games industry ever. And consolidation is. I always feel kind of sort of mixed on when big consolidation happens in the gaming industry, because it doesn't feel great when only like a few only a few big companies control everything.
I had to look it up. The original announcement that they were going to attempt to take over or attempt to acquire Activision was January 2022. So
okay,
almost
that was
2
wow.
years.
Yeah, I forgot it was January. I thought it was like spring.
Just crazy. I agree. I don't like consolidation, but also on the same token, the fact the FTC is still trying to stop it when it's already gone through. It's just stop wasting our tax money. It's over.
Yeah. So that some people are happy, some people are not. We'll see how it shakes out. Hopefully for the better. Hopefully for the better. That's all you can really hope for at this point. Like hopefully there's gonna be ideally no layoffs, but if it comes to that, hopefully very minimal, because like when cost of consolidation happens, a big part of it is like thinking like, okay, where are we gonna reallocate these people? Do we really need all these people come over? Which hopefully the answer is yes.
Looking at the actual like counts of employees for like Activision Blizzard versus the current state. Well, I guess not the current state, the prior state of Xbox Game Studios and like the whole company there. They've basically more than doubled, well, no, like tripled the number of employees under Xbox.
Wow.
There is going to be layoffs, and I am not looking forward to it.
Yeah. So ideally none, but when it comes to that, hopefully not that many, but it's probably gonna happen. So that completes the saga, and obviously probably Microsoft's not done, so we'll see if they are gonna acquire. I can't imagine who they're gonna acquire next.
I actually think they're done, because the main reason why these this consolidation really happened is that for a lot of companies, it used to be that essentially you could just have like loans with like pretty much no interest rates. And so it was essentially free to just like buy every companies. Now there very much are interest rates, and so I'm pretty sure going forward, especially after this big of an acquisition, that maybe Microsoft is going to be done with at least the big acquisitions for now. So who knows?
Well, at least they are not Embracer Group.
That bar is buried underground.
Who
I would not have believed. I sincerely would not have believed if you had told me at the very beginning of this year that essentially the only unambiguous success coming out of Embracer Group would be Dead Island 2.
What about Remnant 2?
Was that Embracer? That was that was Gearbox Publishing.
Which
did
is
they
Embracer.
buy?
Oh,
I guess that is technically Embracer.
Yeah, then that is successful.
Then that was a success too.
Yeah.
But
so both of
degrees
them
of separation now. Yeah.
Both a thumbs up from
there's
Embracer.
murmurs that Embracer wants to get rid of Gearbox or sell them off again. Okay, whatever.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. What a turnout that turned out to be. Jesus. Moving on to release dates, we have one fairly coming soon.
We have a bunch of indie game release dates.
Yeah,
here.
right. The Unliving coming out on October 26th is the indie game from Rocket Brush Studio about managing a necromancer's army. So you can do a lot of builds, like a minion build, and you have to sacrifice those minions for like bigger spells and so forth. So
Yeah,
I
this
believe
game
that's
has been
been
in early access, so
yeah.
now it's just like a full release.
Yeah. So that's neat. We also have a game called Sands of Aura coming out of early access on October 27th by Chashu Entertainment, published by Freedom Games. There's an isometric action RPG, and this is coming to PC via Steam, Epic Game Store, and GOG. Just on PC for now, I believe. This is also has Souls-like combat. Well. Next up, we have one that I'm looking forward to, Little Goody Two Shoes. They finally announced a release date on October 31st for PS5, Xbox Series X and S, Switch, and PC. So there was a demo for it as well during the Steam Next Fest. I mean, I already played it at PAX Fest, so I was like, I'm good. But friends who've played it really liked what they saw with it. So it seems like Little Goody Two Shoes actually got a lot of new people interested in it thanks to Steam Next Fest demo. So people seem to have liked that. A few of my friends have also started playing the previous game from these Astral Shift developers, the Pocket Mirror. Some of them have also been playing that, and just kind of it's not like mandatory to have played it to go into Little Goody Two Shoes, but since they like the premise and the world of Little Goody Two Shoes so much, they went to go back and like kind of get more context on it. So that's cool. In Stars and Time is coming out on November 20th for PS5, PS4, Switch, and PC. There's a pretty neat like grayscale RPG that's focused on time looping.
Yeah, there's some like this is kind of like a cartoony, like you said, monochromatic RPG. That it has something to do with like a demon king that you're like flinging you through like a time loop, but only the main character is aware there's a loop. So I'm not exactly sure how that works in terms of the like story or the combat or whatever, but that's kind of the premise.
Yeah. As we mentioned earlier, the Thaumaturge also announced its release date. It is coming out on December 5 for PC. On PC, it's going to be available on Steam, Epic Game Store, and GOG. Also coming out on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S later on in early 2024. So PC release is going to be on December 5th, and then the console versions are coming later early next year. So that is one that I am looking forward to now.
And then they also released a series of trailers for the different Salutors that you can fight or join you, I guess.
I want all of them to join me. They seem really cool.
and then, like I said, they're based off of like various kind of mid-Eastern Europe mythologies and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool. Also, we mentioned earlier, Sovereign Syndicate is coming out January 15th for PC. That's the only platform that's announced for right now. So, that'll be, if you're interested in that, that was had a demo at Steam Next Fest. If you're also Disco Elysium fan, it is very much striking that same sort of vibe and energy. Mercenaries Lament, Requiem of the Silver Wolf is coming for PC in 2024. This is okay, so the lineage of this is weird because
let me explain.
Yeah, go for it.
This is the 7th entry in that Mercenaries kind of Japanese indie tactical RPG series. Following the news on like the updates on this series can be a little bit confusing because it is like announced in Japan first. It usually releases for PlayStation first, and then it gets like an English launch later, but sometimes not on PlayStation, but on Switch. There's like a delayed, like staggered PlayStation Switch release, and then later it gets to PC all at the same time. But like the different games came to PC at different points, so it's a little confusing. There's like a staggered platform release, staggered Japanese English release, so it's a little confusing. Like, wait, what games are on what platforms, and are they in English? So this is the most recent Mercenaries game. All the other 6 games are now on Steam. Some of them just launched like a couple days ago, but all the other 6 games are on Steam. The 7th game is currently on PlayStation and Switch. It literally just came to PlayStation in English, although it came to PlayStation Japan like back in February. It's kind of what I mean by the staggered releases here. But now this is the last game in the series, and it's coming to PC next year. So if you're interested in this tactical RPG series, I believe all the games are now available on Switch, PlayStation, and PC, except for this one, which is coming soon. So it gets confusing.
So they've made 7 games already?
Yeah, this is the 7th one.
But they only had like 4 games.
Well, the thing is, it kind of feels like they got to 7 really quickly, because I guess the first game and the second game were like originally feature phone games from like 2008, like just before smartphones kind of got popular. And then they got like a re-release on Switch as Mercenary Sagas Chronicle, and that was 1 through 3. And then since then, that was like 5 years ago, they basically released like one a year or whatever. So yeah, this is the 7th one. I have no idea if these games are any good.
Yeah, pretty much. I saw that earlier this week, because I went to go look at our RPGs of 2023 calendar. I was like, oh yeah, they released like 3 Mercenaries games on Steam this week.
4.
4, sorry, 4. Like, all right. Moving on to trailers, we got a new trailer for the Tales of Arise Beyond the Dawn expansion. They're focused on DLC or the quest in the DLC, and it was kind of like, I don't know. It was a very
okay. I didn't watch this trailer, but it was like I saw them tweet literally the day before, almost like a countdown, like we're releasing a trailer on Quest tomorrow, and my thought was a trailer on Quest. That seems kind of weird. So what was this trailer?
It was basically just
doing fetch quests.
Kind of, but it was like a montage of like small clips from like side quests. It was them like accepting a side quest, and then it was like and it was just like a bunch of different quests that like just kind of shows you scenes of like them interacting, of like them picking up the quests, pretty much. And then this is like, oh look, and like these quests are basically like, wow, look at this place 1 year later, and look at how far the people have come. You know, it's like, yeah, cool.
This is a weird DLC. I mean, we said it when it was announced.
And then like when they're like talking about it, like they're talking about, oh, you know, like you'll get to see like how in these side quests, like how the reconstruction of like these towns that you visit in the base game are doing, and then it also shows off like, hey, this Beyond the Dawn expansion will have a new large dungeon. It's like, okay, so will it have like a new singular dungeon then, or what? Like, and then the rest are like dungeons that you've already revisited. Like, what do you mean by just like new large dungeon? That's all they really said about it. And then like the very brief combat footage they put into this is like an ability that you already saw, which is like the standard Shion and Alphin like combo ability finisher, pretty much. And it's like, okay, and that was it. It was a pretty underwhelming trailer, I'd say. There's nothing like, I don't know. I still don't know why they're putting out this expansion, to be honest. I still don't know, because they've already confirmed that the new character that they showed off, like the new character interacting with the main cast, is not playable, and I don't know if like the main cast has like anything new that they can do gameplay wise either, because they haven't said anything about that.
Well,
so I have no idea.
You're buying it for the side quest. Yay!
I don't know, but yeah, I guess that is coming out November 9th, and you need the base game to access it. It's not a standalone thing. There was also a new trailer for Sandland that shows the English voice cast for it. So I didn't know this was getting an English dub. To be honest.
I thought
That's
that was
cool.
interesting. It's actually
Yeah.
the trailer itself was actually revealed a while ago, or a couple weeks ago in Japanese, and it's basically like, here's the English cast. Like, oh, that's interesting. This game's
Yeah.
getting an English dub. I wonder if it's just because it's like for example, I think of Bandai Namco. I think of, well, One Piece, the anime has a dub, but they didn't give it to the game. But I wonder if that's like trickier to manage and license or whatever than like this is just a new project with a new movie thing. So maybe it's easier just to get the new cast
Yeah,
in
it's just like
English
a
on it.
one-off as like it's like a one-off
Right.
too, because it's like so it's like it's just that film and in this game. So yeah, I can see where you're coming from. That makes sense. And, it sounds like the English dub sounds solid. So yeah. So this will still no release date for this game, but it's coming out on PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4.
It feels like they're ramping up like marketing for it. It's gotten a handful of trailers. It had like a developer diary, like literally the last week also, and then now an English dub trailer. So it feels like it doesn't have a date, but it's probably next year sometime. Maybe
Yeah, I
even
have to
early.
imagine it's like early next year, but
Yeah.
I wonder if they're like, maybe you should release it in February, and everyone's like, I don't know.
Yeah, watch them do that.
Yeah.
Smart choice. Release when there's 5 major releases there.
So yeah, PS5, PS4, Xbox Series, and PC via Steam. So I think they're definitely just trying to find like a good way to like a reasonable time frame to early next year to slot it in. They just don't know yet. They also not video game related, but speaking of Akira Toriyama, they showed off a new Dragon Ball project.
Oh, you mean
It
Dragon
just
Ball Babies?
yes,
You
Dragon
mean
Ball
Dragon Ball
babies.
GT2, guys?
Yes. I forgot what it's called, like Dragon Ball Daima or Dama or something.
Yeah, Dragon Ball
But
Daima. I don't know
Yeah,
much
people
else about it
before
other than they're now children.
Yeah, people before they leaked it or something, they were calling it Dragon Ball Magic, but the official title is Dama. So
it's called Dragon Ball for babies and Dragon Ball babies. That's what it's called. Um, they have a new trailer out for two new trailers for Persona 3 Reload. One focuses is like a Yukari character trailer, and the other focuses on like the Iwatodai dorm life. These both have like interesting things about them. Obviously, the Yukari trailer just shows off like the new footage, like both from the English and Japanese voice actress, and a bit of like events that like focus around Yukari. Um, but the Iwatodai dorm life have had a pretty interesting um trailer.
That one's interesting because it shows new events like
Mhm.
that take place between the characters, including things like the Junpei social link. And I played Persona 3 Portable actually just last year, and I played the female route where there is a Junpei social link, but like I don't recognize this one. I think it's different. Maybe my memory's bad, but that's one thing that they said they were going to add. And obviously, there's no female protagonist in this version, but like there's social link with Junpei now. There wasn't before for male protagonists.
Yeah, these new events with like the male characters that they're adding in, like they progress almost like social links. Like it's like a secondary social link.
Well, it seems like it was.
Interesting.
It showed a rank up and everything.
Yeah.
So that's pretty different in terms of how does that work in terms of mechanics and whatnot. And let me pull something up here real quick.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly. One second. I don't remember exactly how it was in FES, but like this trailer shows Junpei getting a social link. He is now rank 5, and it says he gains the skill Hack and Blast, deals severe slash damage to one foe, ignoring resistances. So it's like they actually get like new abilities or passives or something when they social link up, which didn't really exist in that way before. So mechanically, this remake is going to be pretty different. How these all work. So
yeah, really expanding a lot of stuff, and obviously like the beyond that, there's also just general new like Iwatodai dorm events.
Yeah, there was also it showed the main character hanging out with Shinjiro, as another male character kind of addition that like they said, they're going to try to get those male characters a little bit more screen time because they didn't really have it in the original releases. So
Right.
it's interesting.
So yeah, this kind of content is like it's one of those things like, oh, okay, this remake is like it's expanding it in like in pretty interesting ways.
Yeah, both character wise and mechanically.
Yeah, so more meets the eye. Like when they first originally announced, it's like, okay, this is kind of a weird project, but now it's like, okay, things are starting to come together a little bit. And yeah, that's pretty much everything that's happened this week in terms of like what we're covering, pretty much. So, any new releases next week? Oh yeah, the full release. Wait, no, that's not. It's next week. Yeah, it is next week. The full release of World of Horror. It's coming.
Not an
next
RPG,
week.
but tons of games released next week. Sonic Superstars, Super Mario Wonder. I think Spider-Man. Spider-Man's the same day as Mario.
Oh
right?
yeah. It was like Friday. Yeah, Spider-Man 2's Friday. What else?
Then the week after that is Alan Wake 2.
Oh yeah.
Busy week for sure.
I don't know for RPGs, but for interesting games, for non-RPG games, it seems to be a cool week. But for RPGs, there'll be. I mean, there's some stuff.
You can buy the PlayStation 5 version of the Caligula Effect 2.
There you go.
I heard
that game is actually pretty decent. We never reviewed
it. But the first game was a disaster, though.
Yeah, I played the first game. I've talked about it on this podcast. I played the original version of the first game. I never played the redo version, which is better. Apparently, at least a little bit. The original version of the first Caligula, that game is dreadful.
I feel like I dodged a bullet with that one. Yeah. I said, maybe I'll do a guide for this.
I don't know why I remember it this way, but I remember when I was reviewing Caligula, the Caligula Effect, the first one, it was basically releasing at the exact same time as Trails in the Sky the Third, the Western version of that, obviously. And my brother was reviewing that. And that game I love. I played it afterwards because I couldn't play it when I was reviewing. It's just kind of like, man, like that game is one of my absolute favorites, and I had to play this game that was one of my absolute worst. Like instead at that time,
you'll never forgive it for that.
So now those two games are now linked in my brain.
That's unfortunate.
Yes.
I hope because the third is still one of the best games in the Trail series.
I hope people that come to our Discord don't get discouraged every time we talk shit about Cold Steel 4, because it seems like every time someone brings up Cold Steel 4, it becomes a rant about that game all day.
Why'd you bring it up, Chow?
Why'd you bring it up?
Hey, even just participants in our staff or in our general channel, a lot of them aren't too hot on Cold Steel 4 either. So it's not just us. Some of just the general people in there.
It's a kind of divisive game. Like some people act like it isn't, but it is very much so.
I don't know. It's always fun racking everyone's brains in the Discord channel, seeing where people are at and what they're playing, and
a lot of Fate memes recently.
I might contribute to that once in a while, yeah. So where you can find us on rpgsite.net. You can find us over on Twitter/X at rpgsite. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/rpgsite.net. You can find us on YouTube via youtube.com/rpgsite.net. You can find us on your favorite podcast app, whether that be iTunes, Spotify, etc. You can find us on Discord with the right Discord link with discord.gg/rpgsite. And go hang out with us. They're right now. I see that they're talking about. I guess they're watching a panel of FF7 Rebirth. And
there's a English voice actor panel for Rebirth right now at New York Comic Con, and this is something that people guessed, but they formally revealed literally as we were podcasting that Matt Mercer is voicing Vincent.
There you go.
Which I like Matt Mercer. I do feel like he's almost risking being overexposed, but he's good.
Yeah, he's good. I see Chow also linked to figures for Cyberpunk Edge Runners there as well in the Discord chat. And then that's it for now. You can find us next week. We'll be back next week, and we'll talk about the latest in RPGs and anything cool going on. Hopefully something cool happens next week. Until then, thanks for listening. Take care.
Later, everyone.
Did we really finish a podcast in under 2 hours?
Did we? No
Yes.
way.
We did.
Holy shit.